United Kingdom has absolutely no plans to deal with the country falling apart. All he intends to do is engage the mainstream media and social media in a major cover-up. So what you've seen is absolutely no talk of the daily invasion, no talk of the Islamist takeover. Everything is focused on the utterly mundane and vibes. Indeed, we now have, and let's look at these pictures actually because they're incredible. We now have David Brent as our Prime Minister. And I'm not even joking. At some point, the British public are going to wake up and say, I don't give a damn if this man pretends to be Mr. Nice Guy. He's leading us to hell. The other thing I've got a big issue with, and I know people will be divided on this, but I think it was disgusting that at the launch of Number 10 North, so this is basically the idea that we're not just going to have one power base in the United Kingdom, he's creating a new Downing Street and some sort of nondescript business park in Manchester, his hometown. When he opened that building with a David Brent style social media video, guess what was on the wall? A signed copy of the Smiths' album, The Queen is Dead. Now, you may love Morrissey, you may love the Smiths, that's absolutely fine. But this is the Prime Minister of our country who has never said that he is a Republican, who is proudly displaying an album and a song, I should say, that if you remember back in the 1980s, absolutely horrified the British royal family, absolutely horrified the late Queen, because this was a song, and you can call it humorous if you want, that in no doubt celebrated the overturning of the British monarchy. Now, again, I'm not po-faced, okay? I'm not Mr. Cancel Culture. I don't give a damn if Andy Burnham wants to hang that in his private residence, but to do so at the launch of the new Number 10 Downing Street up north, and to boast about it, to me, is a concern about what type of guy we really have in Number 10. And I'm not the only one. Ben Weller posting something very unsettling about a Prime Minister
of the disunited kingdom has absolutely no plans to deal with the country falling apart. All he intends to do is engage the mainstream media and social media in a major cover-up. So what you've seen is absolutely no talk of the daily invasion, no talk of the Islamist takeover. Everything is focused on the utterly mundane and vibes. Indeed, we now have, and let's look at these pictures actually cause they're incredible. We now have David Brent as our Prime Minister. And I'm not even joking. At some point the British public are going to wake up and say, I don't give a damn if this man pretends to be Mr. Nice Guy. He's leading us to hell. Of our country who has never said that, beyond the headlines and the symbolism, there's a broader question that many political observers are beginning to ask. What should the public expect during the opening weeks of a new Prime Minister's time in office? It's common for a new administration to focus heavily on presentation. Carefully staged visits, polished social media videos, and positive media appearances are all part of introducing a new leader to the public.
Moving the heart of government away from its historic location and then putting a record titled The Queen is Dead on his wall. Now, within this David Brent tour, and I know we can laugh at it, so let's laugh at him because he is David Brent. He is embarrassing. He's like a combination of David Brent and Alan Partridge, actually. But it's within this tour that he shows off The Queen is Dead hanging on the wall.
Yes.
Hi Andy. Could you show me around your Number 10 North office, please?
Come on then, come in.
Brilliant.
It's great.
It's lovely.
Very happy with it.
Can you show me some of the things you got?
New folder. There's my leaving present from Greater Manchester. Oh, look at that. Gold disc of The Queen is Dead. I need to return that to Johnny Marr, actually. Great cartoon. Andy Burnham gets his hat-trick against Liverpool. Brit Awards in Manchester. And then over there, on the other wall. Now that is something I treasure. Somebody who
Andy,
is...
what are you...
whoa! Hang on, you don't need to see that. Okay, I think we better leave now.
All right, sorry.
Cheers.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
This is, of course, the ha 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 funny. He makes his tea in an odd way. I don't give a shit. Seriously, don't give a shit. I'm not laughing at him. I care about the fact that every single day this week, there are hundreds of invaders who want to kill us arriving into our country. He's not uttered a word about it. That's what I care about. And I do think that choice of the Queen is dead hanging on his office, I personally do think that sends a signal about what type of man this really is. Now, you're not going to get any of that in the mainstream media. Indeed, the British Bashing Corporation was given cozy access behind the scenes all week and didn't bother to ask Burnham one tough question at all. Shame on you, Laura Kuenssberg. Watch.
They just see the Prime Minister go in the front. Today, for the first time, they're going to let us go in around the back to see what's actually happening in there in the first few minutes and hours of Andy Burnham in the job.
Staff are rushing around getting everything ready. The Burnham family are all arriving. I just met his mum, and in a few minutes he'll be here as our 59th Prime Minister.
The thing is, I just think what I most need to do is get Britain focused on getting the country back where it should be, getting it working.
Burnham posted on X, I'm used to people telling me things can't be done. I didn't accept it then. I won't accept it now. It's time to get Britain believing again and bring back hope. But Lauren the Insider replied, the only words we want to hear come out of your mouth, millions must go. Until then, zip it, shrimpy. To the superstar panel, Howard Cox, Jack Hadfield, Sarah White. Howard, can I first ask you about the decision to proudly hang the Queen is Dead record in the number 10 North office? As I say, I'm not being over the top about this. I just think it's highly inappropriate that a Prime Minister would choose that. Because what, he thinks it's cool? He thinks it makes him anti-establishment in some type of way? I actually think it's highly disrespectful to the monarchy.
Supporters argue that's simply modern politics. Critics, however, contend that image can sometimes overshadow substance. The launch of the number 10 North office has become one example of that debate. For supporters, it represents an effort to decentralize government and show that Westminster isn't the only place where important decisions can be made. They see it as a symbolic investment in regional leadership. Others are more skeptical. They question whether opening another government office will make a meaningful difference to the everyday issues facing households. They argue that voters are far more interested in the cost of living, economic growth, public services, and community safety than they are in office locations or promotional videos. That's why seemingly small moments, like a record displayed on the wall or a light-hearted office tour, can end up generating significant discussion. Political symbolism often becomes a stand-in for larger questions about priorities and leadership. History has shown that first impressions matter.
I mean, what got me is how proud he was of it. He went up to that corner, glowing with pride. He's got that silver or gold disc or whatever it is. I mean, you're right. There's loads of records and rock stars have said terrible things about the establishment. But I'll be intrigued to know, next time he meets the king, talking about, his mother, about the way that he's got something hanging on his wall to say that I want your mother dead, and that is totally beyond the pale. And I'm staggered that no one has actually picked up much more of that one.
No one. No one's even spoken about it. No one thinks it's a big deal because, Jack, there's just this sort of embrace of Burnham that, like, the mainstream media are in love with this guy, and it's working, Jack, because the new polls today, and this is bad news for you, at Reform UK, show Labour taking the lead.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're up 4 points ahead of Reform at the recent poll, which is a more uncommon one, I think, which was 28 to 24. Yesterday there was another one again around the same time. We still had Reform up by 1 point. So this is only the first poll where we've seen that. But this is kind of what we expected. There would be a Burnham bounce certainly within the first few months of his premiership, because he's just going to announce a bunch of things that are going to sound good, and there's not going to be any crises just yet. So of course people are going to think, oh, sounds all right. I'm getting money for my energy bills. He's cutting business rates for pubs. Oh, sounds fine. But when the budget comes in and when actual work comes in, he will be he will actually end up hitting the road, and this momentum will be lost. But just going back to the album, I will say I think this is an example not of malice, but again back to really David Brentism. I think what we've seen here, because the Queen is Dead is a great album. Big Mouth Strikes Again. There's a Light That'll Never Go Out. Got some absolute crackers on there. And so I think Burnham thought, wow, I've got this great album, one of my fantastic ones from Manchester. Let's put it on the wall of number 10 North. And he just hadn't thought about any of the consequences and the optics of having that on the wall of number 10 North. And none of his advisors thought about that either. So I think that's us coming in now, looking at the obvious. And it was like, hey, maybe the Prime Minister shouldn't have something like this, a far more sort of Republican sentimental sounding thing up on his wall. I don't think it would have crossed their minds just one little bit. It is funny though, obviously, given that Morrissey is actually quite right wing, massive anti-immigration, criticising the demographics. So really, I want Morrissey to come out and say something about Burnham quite now. That would please Morrissey, if you can hear us, please save us. That would be the cherry on top of this whole debacle.
Sarah White, it is just embarrassing though, isn't it, seeing this fawning coverage of a man who has not said not one word about the illegal invasion. We've been seeing these migrants coming in, Sarah, on these superboats over the past few days, hundreds and hundreds of migrants at a time. And as I say, these are all illegals. And in my view, they're all criminals. Sarah, that is just a fact. And the vast majority want to hurt us, want to harm us in one way or another.
That's completely correct. But let's remind ourselves, he is Labour through and through. So he's never going to call out Islam. He's never going to call out the threats that await us from these undocumented, fighting age, sexually charged men. He's never going to say what the real issues are in this country. And he is a Prime Minister that has not been elected. He has just stepped into Starmer's shoes, and we've got another buffoon who's going to be running number 10. And he's completely incompetent. And the sooner we get an election to get rid of Labour, the better. That is the only way this country is going to save itself, is once Labour is well and truly removed. Because no matter who represents Labour, they are all exactly the same. We are never going to get a change, and they will all fight for the same issues, and they will not fight for what is really the concerns of this great nation. And unfortunately, until he's gone, we're not safe.
We also have the equally shocking throbber, Red Rayner, the tax evader, back in government. I mean, can you believe, you don't pay your taxes, you're a champagne socialist, but come on back, we're going to make you housing secretary again. And she has been challenged by Rob Rinder, I don't know if you saw this on Woke ITV's Good Morning Britain, about why it's hypocritical that she is keeping the £17,000 severance payment that she received when she left the job, only to take the job back just a few months later, something she used to accuse Tories of doing. What?
The money, you're not going to repay it. I mean, just help me understand, and our viewers, why that isn't hypocritical.
Sure. I was in government for over a year, and the severance, I've obviously been out of government for nearly a year. What I was talking about at the time, we had several prime ministers over a very short period of time. People were in government for a number of weeks in some cases.
Oh, but our Ange is different. Different rules always apply to our Ange, right?
You said they had a staggering lack of shame. In your case, that.
Well, look, if you've been in a job a couple of weeks, if you've been in a job a couple of weeks and then accepted thousands of pounds, that is very different, I think, to the circumstances that I was in.
But that wasn't the only car crash interview with Reform UK's Robert Jenrick. Reporting in a car crash interview this morning, Angela Rayner admitted Labour are going to let people down and break another election promise. She said that building 1.5 million homes is like running a marathon under 5 hours. She'll give it a go, but may not do it. She insists people shouldn't underestimate her, but when she was last in post, the number of homes granted planning permission fell to the lowest level in over a decade. The circus rolls on. And I have to admit, this interview on the Today programme with Angela Rayner is an utter disgrace.
1.5 million new homes in this parliament. Are you still committed to that Labour target in this parliament?
Look, I'm not. You know, that commitment was very challenging before when I came into government. Has it just been dropped? It's certainly got more challenging, and we've seen things like construction costs go up, etc., which has had a real negative impact on that. But I'm not dropping it. I'm just saying that it is a really difficult stretch target. But
it's not going to happen, though, is it? It's not going to happen, though, is it? Are you saying you're going to keep the target of 1.5 million homes because it's right to aim for that? But are you also saying it's just realistically not going to happen? It's not really achievable. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep the target, but it's like me saying I'm going to run the London Marathon in under 5 hours. That would be a real challenge for me, but I'd do it.
I mean, it's just a joke. It's just a joke to her, Howard. The whole thing is just embarrassing.
Absolutely right. I mean, look at the quality of ministers we've had or have got. I mean, we go back as far as Diane Abbott, then we've got David Lammy, of course, and then now Angela Rayner. I listen to her, look at her, but she's full of hypocrisy and pure greed. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say she's a lying piece of scum. It sickens me to the core.
Well, she calls us scum. She calls anyone she disagrees with scum.
Well, that's one reason why I said it. I thought it would fit in quite well with her persona. But, this is unbelievable. We all know it's not going to be possible. I mean, with all this, our population growing exponentially at the moment with immigrants coming in, I mean, how is she can even stand there? Why can't she be just honest? If she was honest about that, she'd get so much more respect. But I'm afraid there's no way. She's full of deceit. And she's totally being disrespectful for voters, and she's also being disrespectful for her own office. And how she got that job back again, I just do not know.
I know, Sarah. Any ideas?
Well, all that springs to mind is she can have a fancy blow dry and put on some nice glasses, but you can't polish a turd. So what is she actually going to do? She done nothing her first time around. She's been brought back in, and it's just a mockery to the rest of the country, to be honest, that she's been allowed to take a position yet again, and it's all going to be funded by us, the taxpayers. And I'm not surprised. This government, like I said earlier, the better they are out, the sooner we can get back to saving our country.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Jack.
The opening months of any government often shape public expectations for years to come. Every public appearance, every interview, and every announcement is closely scrutinized, not only by supporters but also by opponents looking for signs of inconsistency or misplaced priorities. The challenge for any Prime Minister is balancing communication with action. Modern leaders are expected to maintain a constant public presence through television, interviews, and social media, while at the same time demonstrating measurable progress on the issues that affect people's daily lives. Critics of the current government argue that there has been too much emphasis on presentation. Supporters respond that it's too early to judge an administration before its policies have had time to take effect. Both perspectives are now becoming part of the wider political conversation. Ultimately, governments are judged less by carefully produced videos and more by outcomes.
I really do feel the Rayner story sums up everything that is wrong with this Labour government. It's the hypocrisy, it's the decision to reward failure, but it's also the mainstream media completely covering up this scandal for her in a way that they never would for any politician on the right. I think it absolutely sums up the rotten nature of our entire elite class, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, are they our elite class?
No.
I don't think Angela Rayner sounds very
far
elite
from
to
it.
me. And I think this is kind of the epitome of the problem. For the last however many decades, we have not been led by the best and the brightest of us, but we've been led like people like Rayner, who ate dog food as a kid. We've been led by people like Andy Burnham, who is now, as I said, David Brent, obviously, as Prime Minister. We've got comedic characters. We have Stella Creasy, who sees a bird in a tree and goes, oh, somebody lost their pet parrot, and then freaks out about it and says it's a threat to democracy that people are taking the mick out of her for doing that. So our politicians are not the best and brightest of us. And this is an absolute crying shame, and frankly, the cause of much of the issues that we have in this country. So, we need fewer Angela Rayners and more people who actually know what on earth they're doing and actually are, frankly, better than most other people in the country. I don't want an quote unquote a just totally bog standard person running in charge of things. I want the best and the brightest to be guiding this country in the right direction.
And just an update on the breaking news in regards to Zach Polanski. Reform UK have now reported the Green Party leader to the police for incitement to murder, Nigel Farage. That is after he posted that image on Instagram of the guillotine.
Public confidence tends to depend on whether people feel their concerns are being addressed and whether promises made during campaigns translate into real-world results. As the months unfold, voters will have more opportunities to evaluate the government's performance. The headlines surrounding office decor and social media campaigns may fade, but the larger questions about leadership, priorities, and policy will remain at the center of political debate. Whether you view the launch of Number 10 North as an innovative step or simply effective political branding, one thing is certain: symbolism and substance often become intertwined in modern politics. Leaders are judged not only by the decisions they make but also by the messages they send, intentionally or otherwise. As always, the conversation doesn't end here. What do you think? Was the attention surrounding the new office and its symbolism justified, or has the debate distracted from the government's actual policy agenda? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.